Hello everyone, Tennessee Tactical back at it again with another YouTube video for you today. This is a how-to video on how to properly lubricate a Glock. This is coming from Glock's official recommendations with a few recommendations of my own as a certified gunsmith, but 99% of this is coming straight from the Glock owner's manual. So if you want to know how to properly lubricate your Glock, here's a great informational video on how to do so. So the first thing we want to do when we're handling any kind of firearm is we want to make sure that the firearm is clear before use, before doing any kind of maintenance on it or any kind of gunsmithing or any kind of thing like that. We want to make sure it's clear. So the first thing we're going to do is clear the firearm. So I took the magazine out, but if you have the magazine, go ahead and remove the magazine by hitting the magazine release, pressing the magazine release, take that out. Then you want to lock the slide to the rear, physically and visibly inspect the chamber here to make sure that there's no ammunition in the chamber. Once you've done that and there's nothing in the chamber and you've taken your magazine out, you have determined that your firearm is safe to use and that it's completely clear, so you can now let down the slide. Once you have done that, your firearm is now clear. So in order to properly lubricate a Glock, we have to field strip the firearm. So field stripping procedures as follows. So as you've already, cleared your firearm, I like to do it like this. Clear first, obviously, and then once you have took your slide from slide lock, your trigger will be ready to press. You have to depress the trigger to disassemble a Glock. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. Again, we're on an empty chamber. We're going to go ahead and depress the trigger and then pull back on the slide about 1/8 of an inch, 1/10 of an inch. Some people say different, but just pull back a little bit and then pull these tabs down here. Once you pulled them down, you can now walk the slide off of the frame. And then now you have your two major sub-assemblies. So now you can, where the frame is disassembled as much as it needs to be, now you can take the slide, take your guide rod out of the frame there, or out of the slide there, and then take your barrel out of the slide. So now we have a fully field stripped Glock 19, and then now we can go ahead and start our Glock lubrication procedures. So let's start with the easiest first, and which is the guide rod. The guide rod receives no lubrication. Glock does not say to lubricate the guide rod, so make it, let it stay dry and just leave it alone. So we're going to set it to the side. Now, before we get into lubricating, I want to make a mention here. I'm pretty sure that Glock recommends Hops products, or Hoppies, or however you say it. Personally, Hops is okay. It's good. They've got good bore cleaner, but their lubrication, it is what it is. This is where it comes down to personal preference. I've got tons of lubrication products. I've got my Lucas, my shooter lube, the Hops, all kinds of other lubrications in the background. But for the sake of this video, we're going to use what I like to use, and that's the Lucas gun oil. Just any kind of gun oil will do. But just to make a mention, Glock does actually recommend Hops products for their cleaning and maintenance procedures. So we'll go ahead and use our Lucas lubrication here. Now we're going to start with our barrel. So the barrel receives a few different lubrication points, the first being the barrel itself. So we can take our needle applicator, take the little top off there, and Glock recommends 1 drop per lubrication point. A little goes a long way, so don't use a lot here. If you over lubricate firearms, especially Glocks and other striker-fired pistols, it can cause a buildup of the lubrication mixed with burnt gunpowder, which can cause an actual, like a lapping compound, and it will actually mess your firearm up. So little goes a long way. So for the first lubrication point here on the Glock barrel is the barrel itself. You can see how there's a little bit of finish wear there going on. That is from, really it just happens over time in general of just shooting. You can lubricate it as much as you can and it will kind of prevent that, but it's going to happen eventually. I've shot a lot through this gun, so it's just going to happen like that. So 1 drop of lube here, as you can see. Needle applicators are amazing, so I would recommend getting a needle applicator kind of like this. So 1 drop, and then take your finger, or you can do a little cloth here or a Q-tip or whatever, but I just use my finger. And you want to take it and spread it around the whole entire exterior surface of the barrel there. Like I said, little goes a long way. So once you've completely kind of set that in, kind of like a lotion, now you can do your barrel hood, or the edge of the barrel hood there. That is going to lubricate. I'm going to show you for demonstration purposes. When you put your barrel in your slide, there's two contact surfaces that's going to happen. One on the bottom of the top of the slide here, which actually contacts with your top of the barrel, which is why there's wear there. And then also right here on your barrel hood. So when you put the barrel in the slide, you can see that when it reciprocates, it will cause wear. Not only here, but actually inside the slide, and like I said, on the barrel. So we've already lubricated the exterior surfaces of the barrel, or at least just the barrel itself. So now we need to put 1 drop of lubrication here on the barrel hood. So 1 drop will do you, and then once you've done that, you can kind of spread that around. I don't like to get a lot here because it will kind of bleed over and kind of come out the firearm. So I like to just kind of wipe it. You know, it will kind of set into the metal there anyway. So once you've lubricated that, you don't have to do that anymore. So we've got that, and now Glock recommends that we lubricate kind of in between your locking lugs here. So we can put 1 drop here on the locking lugs. Now, some people also lubricate both lugs here. That is not actually what it says to do in the official Glock recommendation, but I don't see why it would hurt that. If you so choose to do that, you can, but I'm going to go, this is just bare bones from Glock here, and then obviously with a couple of recommendations of my own. So if you want to lubricate those, it's not going to hurt anything, but since we have done all the other recommendations for this barrel, we are now done with the barrel. So we can set the barrel aside. It is completely lubricated and doesn't need any more lubrication. So now we can move on to the slide itself. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about, kind of like how I said, when the slide is in the barrel and it's reciprocating, it's going to cause wear here on the top or the bottom of the top of the slide. So Glock recommends, again, you take 1 drop of lubrication for that, and then take your finger, or like I said, whatever you want to use to applicate it, and then kind of spread that around the inside of your bottom of the slide there. So bottom of the top of the slide, rather. So once you've lubricated that properly and got that spread around in there, now you have 2 more surfaces on the slide, which is your slide rails. So inside your rails, this is where your firearm is going to kind of move in and out here, and obviously you want to lubricate that so it's a smooth action. So Glock, obviously, like I said, recommends 1 drop. So 1 drop on the slide per slide rail. So 1 drop and then 1 drop here. Now, what you can do is you can set your slide up and it will drain down over time if you've got time to let it sit. But if you don't have time for that, just take your needle applicator and just kind of go through there. Or you can actually, once you've done, lubricating and put your firearm back together and functions test, you can actually rack the slide back a little bit and kind of get that lubrication moving around in there. Sometimes I like to take like a Q-tip and just kind of spread around in there in those slide rails. So make sure your slide rails are completely lubricated throughout the whole entire rail of the slide there. So once you've done that, you are done with your slide. There's nothing else to do. Here's some don'ts. Do not put lubrication inside your firing pin channel where the striker's at. Anywhere within the safety, the extractor, anywhere down in the channel there. Do not put any kind of lubrication down in there. A lot of people think maybe there's a hole there that lubrication goes into. Do not do that, because that is where the inner workings of your striker and all that's going to go, so, and the safeties. So do not mess with that. So keep this part completely dry, and we are done with our slide. I will say another thing that you can do, this isn't Glock's official recommendation on this, but you can put a little bit here where the muzzle is going to meet. And like I said, when it reciprocates, it's going to create a little bit of wear right in here. So you can actually lubricate a little bit right through here if you want to. It's actually not going to hurt anything, and I'll go ahead and do that just to show you. But just know Glock doesn't actually recommend that, but that's something that as a certified gunsmith, I see no harm in doing, and I think it's actually going to be better for your slide and your barrel. So go ahead and do that if you so wish. So when you're done with that, you're done with your slide and your barrel. Now we have one more point of lubrication, and that is going to be on your connector here. So I'm going to try to get this up and close. So there's a lot of mechanisms happening here with your trigger control group and everything. Just know that on the connector inside, there's going to be a little bit of, this little metal here is going to rub the rear or the inside of the connector there. So you want to make sure that there's 1 drop of lubrication. Glock recommends 1 drop of lubrication for this. And, you know, this is a very critical part to lubricate. And just know that if you put way too much lubricant right here, you can actually get it into the fire control mechanism and it will kind of gum stuff up. So make sure that you do that part correctly, because that is a critical step. You could kind of mess that one up. So I already saw the lubrication come out on the thing. You don't need to wipe it down. A very, very small amount could get down into the channel of all those inner working parts, but it's not going to hurt anything. But during that transition here of the trigger bar and everything, that is going to create a little bit of wear surface there in the rear of that. I don't really have an exploded view to show that, so just know, like I said, there's a little part in here, like I said, kind of in that area that you want to lubricate, just 1 very small drop. So once you've done that, you're done as far as Glock's official recommendations. I do have 1 more recommendation, kind of like how I did on the slide. I will say that you could put a couple small drops right here on the frame rails. It's not needed because you've already put it on the slide rails, and you know that lubricant will follow that. But you can if you want to. Just, again, make sure you don't over lubricate. That's the key here, guys. You don't want to over lubricate. A little goes a long way, as I've said before. So I did put just a very, very small amount. You could actually put a little bit here on the metal surfaces. Again, not Glock's recommendation on that. I don't see why it would hurt that, but again, do not get any lubricant down in this area here other than that 1 point that I showed you. So once you've done that, you're completely done with lubrication, and now we can go ahead and reassemble our firearm and then do a functions test, and then we can end out the video. So let's take your slide, take your barrel. I'm gonna go ahead, put the barrel down back in the slide, take your guide rod, put the guide rod back down in there, make sure that little lip is on that little kind of indentation there where it sets. Make sure it's in the correct orientation, or you're going to have trouble putting your slide back on your frame. Once you've done that, you can line the rails up with the rails on the frame. And then once you've done that, put it in slide lock. And then what I like to do is, remember how I told you it's kind of hard to get that lubricant on the frame rails all the way throughout? Go ahead and rack the slide a few times. So work the action a little bit and get it going and lubricate it in there. And that will just kind of evenly distribute that lubricant where it needs to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is how you properly lubricate a Glock from the manufacturer's recommendations, with a couple of my own from a certified gunsmith. So if you've enjoyed the video, please be sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to tune into the channel when I upload more videos. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.